Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, welcome to our show. And this, I'm echoing here. I apologize. I hope it's coming through a little clearer on your end than it is on mine. We have our call. We've already got a person on the phone with a question, so we're going to get to you here in just 1 second. The call-in number for anybody else is 646-200-4169. Call in if you have a question, hit 1, and it will let us know that you have a question. So, Michael, are you ready for the first caller?
I am ready for the first caller. Let's go for it. Good morning.
Awesome. Good morning. 408, you're on the air.
Hi. How is everybody?
Where are you calling from?
I'm from Santa Clara, California.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And your name is?
My question is lately, like, the little light switch in me went off, and so I'm very in touch with everything. And I have a weird the kitchen in my house feels very, and right in front of my bedroom door, it's an old house, so there's like no hallway. It feels very heavy, and I'm wondering, what is it? Is there like a portal? Because it's just always so busy in the house. You know, even when I'm like the only one here.
I think that probably, we're a little different topic show. We're on the Angel Radio Network, but
right.
I think you're actually looking for Carol Guy's show, and she's on Monday mornings at 9 o'clock. We don't really work in the psychic realm. We're working with the ancient Aramaic idea of forgiveness. So Monday mornings at 9, you can call into Carol's show, and she'd be the one more likely to be tapping into and answering that question.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. My apologies for not being able to help, but just not our area of expertise.
No, I understand. I'm sorry.
Oh, delighted to have you here. Blessings. And you're welcome to hang around and hear what we are doing. So this morning, yesterday, we finished off with the promise to talk about the Aramaic idea of oota, which is a word that describes control of perception and behavior by an unconscious part of the mind. But first of all, Dr. Tim, and for those who may not know him, Dr. Tim is a psychologist up in Crystal Lake, just outside of Chicago, who for the last 6 years has been running a MindShifters support group and doing some awesome work there. And he had some thoughts, Dr. Tim, about some of the conversation in the chat room yesterday and wanted to address that. So I'm going to turn the show over to Dr. Tim to bring forward his thoughts on separation. I'll introduce it from what you had written to me, Tim. One of my favorite quotes of Albert Einstein is the one that says, "If you think you are separate or separated from the rest of humanity, you're living in an optical delusion." So I open the floor to you, Tim. Welcome.
Thank you. It struck me that there were a couple conversations and comments going yesterday about how bad people should be wiped out, or it wouldn't be good if the bad people were gone. And someone else was writing in the chat room about how those of us who learn to love will make it to the next step of evolution, and those that aren't are going to get left behind, and different comments like that. And
well, so then the solution that I'm hearing that we're talking about was if we just hired somebody to kill all the bad people. Of course, that would create another bad person. We'd have to kill them, and then we'd become the bad person. Boy, that sounds like a real catch-22.
Yeah, and the idea that if we move to a space of love, that somehow makes us better than someone who doesn't learn to focus on love or move to a space of love. And it just struck me that this is a lot of this is the talk of more of the dream of separation, and that essentially we're all in this together. And if I work to recognize my source as love and learn to extend love to everyone and everything, that's helping everybody, even those who aren't yet able to shift their focus to that awareness of their own source as love. And there's a quote that you use quite often the idea that a little leavening leavens the whole loaf, and I would want to put the focus on the word whole there. It's not like you put a little leavening in and then half the loaf gets leavened and the other half you just cut off and throw away. So if we learn to do our work to clear up everything that's less than love within our systems, and if we reach that critical mass we were talking about yesterday in the chat room and a little bit on the radio show, that it's going to change things for everyone. It's going to have the energetic shift and the love move all of us together to a different level of consciousness and awareness and presencing love. And the idea of the Einstein quote and about the idea of the dream of separation, that I could be separate from my source, your story about the rose and the butterfly, if it were even possible for me to do it, it would end my existence. But it's not possible for me to do. I'm always connected to the source that created me, even though my conscious focus may be on something else, and that may inhibit me from living in that space, experiencing that space. It's still my true nature, and it's always available for me to step into that awareness.
Yes, and of course, being always connected to that source, through that we're connected to every other, and it's an illusion of the eye. It's a picture created in the mind that you and I could possibly even be separated. There's a good video that if folks want to Google it, it's really excellent, and it's done by a woman who's a neurologist, and she found herself having a stroke, and she describes how the constructed world of her left brain mind just started to break down, and she describes the whole process of her stroke, but how the world of distance and separation disappeared, and the world of oneness became the world she lived in, even though she had the awareness that she might be dying. And that was okay with her because she was connected to bliss. So, well, okay, if I die, that's okay. And, of course, we don't have to die in order to come back to that direct experience of oneness. We can go back to reclaiming our original human lives and live out of that, fortunately.
Well, and I was put to mind of one of my favorite quotes from another book, which says, each action we observe from our brother or sister is either the expression of love or a cry for help and healing. And so in that way, if I'm aware of somebody who isn't acting in a loving way and who isn't focused on their source as the energy of love, for me to judge them or condemn them is simply creating more of that dream of separation and creating judgment, resentment, perhaps even anger and hate energy within me, which is separating my awareness from my source as love. So I just thought I'd try and put that out here, that in this work, as you're talking, it isn't about, if I do more worksheets than somebody else, I'm a better person than they are. It's not about thinking if I move myself to working 50 worksheets a day and I don't get angry anymore, that I'm better than somebody who gets angry. That's all. I just wanted to put that out there.
Awesome. Good input. And, the person who doesn't function out of love, in the person who proclaims they function out of love and then says, what we really need to do is get rid of all of them. In other words, the person who proclaims that they're functional out of love has this murderous instinct brought up in them. They're trying to take the speck out of their brother's eye while they still have a beam in their own. And perhaps the person who is blatantly out of harmony with love is a fully realized being that's come to offer us the opportunity to look at the murderous instinct within ourselves that we've not yet forgiven. Any form of violence, verbal, emotional, physical, that one has the inclination to do from within, distorts and creates a hallucinogenic world that exists only between that person's ears. The hostility or fear toward one who isn't functioning as love like I am. Yeshua would say, why are you trying to take the speck out of your brother's eye? You have this huge log in your own. You better take a look. You better deal with yourself. So it always comes back to forgiveness. What I can't hold the space of love for, what shows up in my life that brings something less than love up in me, of course, the non-being mind will say, well, that's my opportunity to blame them for what's going on inside of me. Or, and that's, in the context of our conversation the last couple of weeks, codependence to interdependence, that's totally codependent. That's totally somebody else causes this in me. Somebody else has my problem. And the interdependent person would say, when you show up in what I perceive to be an unloving fashion, I become wishful of your death. I have a problem. I have some work to do. I love, there's an awesome scene in the movie Gandhi. And if you haven't seen that film, folks, that should be on your list at least twice a year. It's such a powerful spiritual feeding and such a powerful place to learn forgiveness, to have things surface that need to be forgiven in each of us. But, Gandhi has, as the non-being mind would put it, an archenemy, and the archenemy is Colonel Smuts. He's the head dude that represents the British Crown, who have just decimated the country. And when he is brought from his prison cell to see Colonel Smuts, in essence, what he says to Colonel Smuts is, I can't cooperate with your insanity. Let's face it, and I know you're insane. I can't cooperate with that, but I hope that doesn't come between us as men. In other words, I still stand at the space of love and honor who I know you truly, truly are. And, another line in the Course in Miracles, which has a similar thing to there's only love and a cry for love, in the Course it says what we choose to see in another, we reinforce both in them and in ourselves. And so here's Gandhi with the absolute archenemy as the world would see it. And in essence he says, and I really honor and cherish you as a fellow human being, and I'm going to become the change I want to see in the world. In other words, I'm going to treat you lovingly, gently, and with respect. I'm going to hold you accountable for your crazy behaviors. I'm not going to cooperate with your crazy behaviors, but I'm going to treat you lovingly, gently, and with respect. There's a person who is truly, truly living in an interdependent state and living out of a human life. And our whole goal in doing this work is to live a human life. What is a human life? Simple. Just hold a newborn child. You know exactly what a human life is. Anything less than that, there's work to be done. And, here we are, we humans, we're doing our work.
And I think, for me, one of the keys to keeping me focused and doing my work in this path is the vigilance about anything in my thought that comes up that's less than love. Yes. And so if I'm judging anyone or anything, that's less than love. That's out of that energy of acceptance and inclusion. And that's I'm not trying to set limits for anybody in the chat room, but simply to respond to a couple of themes that came up yesterday with a different perspective.
Awesome, Dr. Tim. We appreciate your input and your vigilance and your support, and the work that you're doing up there in Chicago is absolutely a huge blessing to our work and to the people that you touch, and the creation of that critical mass, that leavening that brings a shift, that when enough humans actually embody, if we go into the ancient Orthodox teachings, the whole idea was incarnation, to incarnate in this world. Most people as human beings, again, think newborn, are not even in their bodies. They're hanging out somewhere because there's too much trauma and pain in there from the generations. And so it's time for us to become conscious of absolutely everything. And the person who it actually ties in perfectly with exactly what our conversation was going to be today, and that is the word oota in Aramaic, because a person who says, yes, here I am, the loving one, and here they are, the violent one that should be destroyed, is working from oota brain cells. Yeshua would say to that person, you are a house divided against yourself. On one level, you're speaking about being But on the other level, you're speaking from an unconscious part of you that still believes that doing violence to someone else, whether it's verbal, emotional, or, we actually want to kill them, is being controlled from that unconscious part of the mind. And so the forgiveness process is all about bringing that unconscious part of the mind. I think, all of us, at least in this conversation, would say, yes, I want to live as the active presence of love, 24/7, 365. But all of us have denied, because of the unmanageability and the pain of some of our experiences, certain of those experiences. And when we do, as we spoke of yesterday, we create a dissociated mind or an unconscious mind. This was so well understood in the ancient Aramaic that there was a suffix that they added to a word that indicated that that particular behavior came from the unconscious. So, for instance, the word snay means vicious. So if there was someone who we had observed being vicious, we'd say that person was snay. And if that person walked in the room now and was functioning as vicious, then we would add the suffix oota to snay and say that person was snay oota. They're being controlled from the unconscious part of their mind. And certainly saying all we have to do is eliminate all the bad people is a pretty vicious statement. It comes from a pretty deep unconscious place where those murderous tendencies live, and we think they're the solution. And what forgiveness does is it gives us a chance to crack that dissociated mind and all of the projections that come with it that say something inside of me is caused by someone else, something inside of me justifies my aberrant behavior. That when I forgive, each time I do, I get in touch with and learn something new about a hidden part of my own mind. Once I come into conscious relationship with that, and by conscious relationship, what I mean is that I bring love present to that part of my mind, I can no longer be controlled by that part of my mind. We're out of the oota state, so to speak. We're out of control of the unconscious once we crack the unconscious or the dissociated mind. And it's only direct reconnection through the true Aramaic process of forgiveness that will heal us, rather than working from the projected images, that is, we blame our current reality on the current actuality. So we think that because something's happened in our world, that's what's caused what's happening in our minds. And as we forgive, we get to remove the distortions caused by those brain cells and reintegrate that dissociated part. The dissociated part will always insist that the distortions, pain, any kind of current painful reality are caused from outside of us, that those realities are caused by actuality, rather than take responsibility and heal. And so the signal that there's some form of hostility or fear hidden in the dissociated mind, that is oota brain cells, those that remain unconscious but control, by definition in Aramaic, control decisions and behavior. The signal that those things are there are any form of hostility or fear. And so our work is to uncover all forms of hostility and fear, expose it to love through forgiveness, and it changes. Nothing to do with letting other people off the hook because of what's happening inside of us, but rather the miracle of bringing the dissociated part, the unconscious part, forward in the presence of love and changing it. Jeannie and I went to see, any other thoughts on that topic, Tim, before we move forward?
No, I think you covered it pretty accurately. If I'm doing something I don't like, I'm being driven by the oota brain cells.
Yep. Yeah. It's such an awesome tool or understanding to have. Oh.
There's a comment in the chat room. It says, I don't believe in forgiveness because I don't believe things happen by accident. Therefore, there would be a reason, and to forgive someone takes judging that person.
Oh, well, that's a great conversation for us to have. You're right on target with your comment, your question, and I would absolutely join with you in making sure that you never, ever, ever, ever forgive anybody ever again for anything. And by the way, while we're at that, never forgive yourself for anything. This work is about forgiveness. This work is not about pardoning. Now, what our culture has done through Greek translations of the ancient Aramaic is that we have been taught to pardon others. I'll forgive you. The word switch game that's taken place. Karl Marx says, change the meaning of a word, you can destroy a culture. Why? Because if there's a word that represents something valuable and you change the meaning of it, that something valuable is lost. And what happened is we had the word forgive substituted for pardoning. So here we run around and as you say, judging others, judging ourselves, and pardoning each other for what we've done. Isn't that big of me? But that's not forgiveness. So I invite you to tap into and really start to understand. And when you do, you'll believe in forgiveness. No question about it. Because here's what happens. We create what happens in our world. We create the results that we experience. We create the pain that we feel and the trauma that goes on. If I'm feeling pain or trauma and I want to blame somebody else for that, I am stuck in a codependent relationship. So I want to pardon them for what they did, and the world calls that forgiveness. Actual forgiveness has absolutely nothing to do with that. Forgiveness simply means that I acknowledge that I have pain in me. No judgment required of me or anybody else. As a result of my interaction in this situation, whatever it is, pain has surfaced in me. Something that does not belong in a device made to embody love is present in that device called the body-mind unit. And so instead of hiding that from myself and wanting to let somebody else off the hook because that's in me, forgiveness, true forgiveness in the Aramaic, we live in a culture that says, you did something really terrible that caused all this pain inside of me, but it's okay, I'll forgive you. And I certainly hear your comment on that conversation. Our conversation is, gee, you did something that really showed me a part of me I need to heal. Thank you. And now we apply forgiveness to uncover the dissociated part of me that holds my pain. And as a result of this interaction, that when I'm in codependent relationship, I want to blame somebody and forgive somebody. As a result of that interaction, I get to see the part of my mind that holds an energy that doesn't belong in me, and I apply forgiveness to that energy, not to the person I've judged or myself, but to that energy to uncover and rid myself of that energy. So that's what we're talking about with forgiveness here. Quite a different concept than the Greek theologies have taught us to do, and so powerful, because what happens is you start to see everything in your life as an opportunity. Everything that comes along that can show you any form of pain, fear, grief, loss, hatred, vengeance becomes the opportunity to learn forgiveness, becomes the opportunity to reach inside yourself and literally, physically remove the capacity to experience that pain and that trauma and to live an actual human life, to live as love. Let me give you an example of that. Is there another comment, Jean? So let me give you, do you have something to say?
Well, actually,
Jeannie's giving me the look. Go ahead.
I didn't know what BRB meant, and Sam just told me that means be right back. Sort of like at Heartland, people run to the bathroom when they. So the person that made that statement and asked that question left and is not in the chat room. So I just put out there for them to pick up the archive of the show so they could catch it. I don't know if they're back yet or not.
Yeah, please, if you, one of the things that we do in our intensives is we have a requirement that everybody agree to be in all sessions throughout the whole session, in the whole intensive. And the reason for that is because over the years we have observed, without exception, that somebody will ask a question, somebody will have made known what their issue is, and in the next 30 seconds, their issue is going to be addressed in a way that will bring them healing. But healing oftentimes means the elevation of stress, and what they'll do is turn tail and run. They'll leave. So yes, if you're back, whoever asked that question about forgiveness, please pick up the archive and give a listen to it. I think it'll change your life. So one of the things Jeannie and I did last night that ties right into our conversation here about these oota brain cells is we went and saw a movie that the producer said was about mental illness. And it was pretty interesting. The movie's called I Am. And it's a gentleman who was the maker of the movie Ace Ventura. That's the movie that, as a producer, made him famous. Tom Shadyac. He made the movie Ace Ventura, almost, I think, all of the Jim Carrey movies. Made millions, I don't know, maybe billions of dollars. I don't know. I mean, he was just all kinds of awards, et cetera, et cetera. And it goes through in the film, the home that he bought when he made his first movie, and it was 7,000 square feet, and then it became 30,000, then it became, X number of different homes, and a Learjet, and a Mercedes, and the whole thing. And he's out riding his bicycle one day and has a very severe fall where he's got some brain trauma, and it looks like he might die from this brain trauma. So here's this young man, and he's maybe in his 30s, early 30s, looks like, and he's facing his own death. And so he starts to ruminate on what he's done with his life. And his definition of mental illness is accumulating more than what you need. And he interviews all kinds of great minds about what's the problem in the world, what's wrong here. And at one point, in the film, he posits a question, what's wrong? And he says, and everybody in the world can answer with the title of this film, I Am. And what he does is, he takes us through these beautiful homes with this wonderful art and this awesome furniture, and he sells it all. And he moves into a trailer park in a trailer and begins to work with restoring sanity. And his definition in the movie of insanity is, or one of the definitions is how we've been separated from each other. And right on this conversation, Tim, of oneness, how we've been separated from each other by an insane world, and that his profession as a movie maker was a major part of the problem. It was a major reason why the world's in such trauma, because it portrays such insanity. Very powerful film. He interviews people like Desmond Tutu and just a whole cast of characters that he speaks to, and particularly scientists who talk about Darwin and how Darwin, if I remember correctly, he mentions the idea of survival of the fittest twice in his book on the descent of man, and 90 times mentions love, but we only hear about the survival of the fittest. He talks about the cooperation. He talks about how powerful in the animal world this cooperation and this instinct to love and to care for and to nurture is, and that we've been selectively brainwashed by our so-called educational systems. By the way, the word educate comes from the root educare. It means to draw out. It doesn't mean to put in. And how we've been brainwashed into this separateness and this survival and this consumerism and dog eat dog and you got to win and da-da-da-da. I mean, it's just an awesomely powerful film. And the bottom line is, hey, folks, scientifically, we're all one. We need to start to care for each other. We need to start to love and respect each other. We need to shift our beliefs into something different. And his search is for the solution to that dilemma. And we are going to contact him with the technology of Aramaic forgiveness, because he posits the perfect question about what's going on and how do we solve the problem. He does not reach the point of being able to look at The problem is that each of us have been structured out of a genetic history filled with all kinds of hostilities, fears, and rages, and that they took away the tool of forgiveness. So we're hoping to be able to make a connection with him and to present the idea of forgiveness, and perhaps that will become part of making a film about the work. So, pretty cool film called I Am. Go see it. Post about it. It's a small film. The average person, Joe consumer, Joe competition, Joe fight, is not going to like it. It's going to take people who choose to be conscious and who choose to live out of being to help to popularize it and really put it out there. We're in Las Vegas, Nevada right now, and there was only one theater out on the outskirts of town that was showing the film. Would love to see it in every theater as a major film because it's starting to open our minds to who we really are and what we're really about as human beings. And that is, we are the active presence of love. And when we're functioning out of the unconscious part, we live in codependence, we live in blame, we live in it's all somebody else's fault. And so that's the direction that we're heading. Tim, you have any other thoughts? I don't know. David, are you with us this morning? Terry?
Well, I'm still here.
I am with you,
David and Terry.
And I'm sorry, was someone talking?
Go ahead, David.
Oh, okay. Well, I was thinking about emailing you about a movie that I watched. It was called Waiting on Superman. And it's about the educational system. It's a very powerful movie. And it talks about just what you're referring to and how it's all set up. And
what was the title of it again, David?
Waiting for Superman.
Oh, Waiting for Superman. Okay, we'll have to look it up.
Yeah, I got it through Netflix. It's not available to watch online there yet, and it is one of them that I got. And I'm looking at ordering it for Heartland here because it was really interesting to talk about how the educational system is set up. And I'll give you one little quick statistic because you brought this thing about EDUCAR, and there's so much emphasis that talks about education. We need to do this for education and so forth. And this film goes back to the last several presidents talking about the great bill that they introduced was this on education, and it's got continuously worse. And one of the things that had happened was the idea of tenuring for teachers, and it originated in the colleges and that profession. And an interesting statistic that I thought was just amazing that this, in comparing the education system with doctors, as an example, 1 out of 57 doctors will lose their license or get fired. 1 out of 97, not that they will, but that's how many people have lost their job or their position. 1 out of 97 attorneys, and 1 out of 2,500 teachers can get fired. That's how difficult that it is in order to change the educational system and that's going on in it, because it's so difficult to remove teachers the way that it is set up. And there are lots of wonderful teachers, and it's just a very powerful program talking about how New York City alone spends over $100 million a year paying teachers that are sitting around waiting to go through the process for them to be fired. And it takes 8 times longer for that process to happen than it does any case in the criminal system. So this thing about education is really, when people talk about focusing and looking at that, then the real challenge is doing our own inner work, as Tim was talking about at the very beginning of it. So anyway, that was just some statistics that I found very, very powerful about how it is that we're communicating with inspirations that are coming up, what they're hearing. So that's my little input for today.
Area code 607. Area code 607, you're on the air.
Hey, it's Richard. How you doing? Can you hear me? Hello?
I can hear you, Richard. I can hear you, Richard.
Good.
Oh, I had my mute on while I was listening there, Richard. I can hear you loud and clear.
Great. How is everybody?
We're blessed. Doing well.
Great.
Rocking right along.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I haven't been able to listen, so this is the first time in a few days I've been listening in, and I was fascinated by your conversation about, the what happened yesterday and all that. And I just wanted to mention that, I don't know whether this relates or not, but over the weekend in a meditation group I was in, we've been studying a book by Ram Dass on how can I help. And at one point, I had been reading your book and recognized that one of the points that you make in the book is that love is a noun, not a verb. And
right.
So out of that, I sort of formulated the following statement. It goes like this: love life and live, or live life and be loved.
Cool.
Did you get it?
I got it. Repeat it again.
Sort of love life and live, or live life and be loved.
It's definitely time for us to be loved.
Yes. I mean, in a lot of ways, loving life and living is this crazy society we got where we think we have to go out there and get everything and to be loved. But in reality, living life and being loved is something different.
Absolutely. Well, and that's the essential message of the movie I Am, which we're suggesting everybody be in support.
That's what it reminded me of too. So I thought I'd just drop that in the box.
Awesome. So things are well in your world up there, back home?
Getting there. Things are moving along.
Cool.
So I'm still not quite back full being here yet, but things are progressing, and got too many things on my plate. I'm trying to sort of do the same thing that the movie producer did, is downsize. So hopefully that'll
be a challenge.
Yeah. So anyway,
be a challenge in this world.
You guys have a blessed day. I'll talk to you again soon.
It's in the plan. Lots of love. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good to hear your voice, Richard.
So we'll get to see that film, David. Thank you. I just ordered it on eBay.
Yep.
And,
pretty cool. It's really very fascinating, quite frankly. It's like, wow, how if you want to really see what's going on and to wake up and see where the changes are and what needs to happen with that. Anyway,
very cool.
Anybody
Tim,
out
you have
there?
any other thoughts? Jeannie, any other comments in the chat room? Any questions? All right. Well, let's. Yeah, I think we've covered the idea of the oota brain cells, that there was such a deep understanding 2,000 years ago that in the Aramaic language they actually had a suffix that they added that showed that the unconscious was in control. Now, of course, in our modern world, Freud gets credit. I think he got the Nobel Prize for discovering the unconscious. Well, Freud no more discovered the unconscious than fly in the air. Freud rediscovered for our time, and interestingly, for almost 2,000 years, we were in the dark about the meaning of that word, and about the in the Aramaic, everywhere you see the word heart, and they say take care of the heart, for out of it are the issues in life. They're saying take care of the dissociated mind, because what you've denied and dissociated from as a creator is what you create your life out of. Job, that which I feared most has come upon me. What do I tend to do if I'm living in the normal culture? I deny what I fear. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to deal with it. So I create this dissociated state. I create what in the Aramaic was called a heart. And now, out of my heart come the issues in my life. When in the ancient teachings they said, you must forgive from your heart the wrongs of your brother, that was not a bleeding heart statement as it's been presented, at least to me, through the Greek translations. You must forgive from your heart the wrongs of your brother is saying, you, in your dissociated state, have created out of your own dissociated mind a picture of your brother as the one with the problem in your life. And you must remove that from your unconscious or from your dissociated mind. Otherwise, that's what's going to run your life and run your world. The person who goes into a relationship never deals with anything. It's always the partner's fault. Is the person who tends to move from relationship to relationship to relationship, and they create the same relationship over and over and over again. You know, the person who's in relationship with a drunk finally says, that's it, I'm finished with you, and leaves, and finds someone who doesn't even drink, and there they are 5 years later, and their partner's a drunk. They literally, with the power of their creative minds, have pulled forward the inclination in that partner to move into addictive behavior. And as we move out of codependent relationship into interdependent relationship, and the way to do that, the primary, of course, we did 3 shows on that last week on the 12 steps of interdependence, but the key step is the process of forgiveness. And with forgiveness, what you do, and if you're not familiar with the forgiveness process we're talking about, you can go to our website, which is www.whyagain.com. On the right-hand side, you'll see a link that says Download Worksheets. If you click on that link, the first 2 links there, the first one will be an explanation of the forgiveness process. It's actually a chapter 24 of my book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again, latest version. And then the actual worksheet process is the second link. We invite you to download those 2, read the instructions, start doing the forgiveness process. Or you can go back to the archives, download the worksheet. You can go back to the archives for February the 22nd, where we had a young lady who was kind enough to volunteer herself and come into the studio and actually went through and did a worksheet with us. We guided her through it step by step. And so, Pamela, we thank you for that. But February 22nd, you can review the full set of instructions in a 1-hour show that we did February 22nd. So jump on whyagain.com, go to the archives. Jeannie's got them neatly organized, January, February, March, and April into May now, and give a listen to that instruction set for the forgiveness process. And that's the main tool that we're here to teach and to take forward. So, Jeannie, any other thoughts or questions? Tim, David, Terry, any input, gentlemen?
Well, I'm here. I don't know about input right now. I have the thought that if she hasn't done it already, I would love to have Jeannie put the 12 steps out of codependence into interdependence on the website. I was trying to record them, type them up as I was listening to you, but I was not able to be there at a computer for Friday's show. So,
right. Well, I will work. It was actually doing that was a totally new project that came out of the codependence shows, and so I don't really have them in an organized fashion that I'm ready to put out on the site yet, but I will. We'll get that together. We'll put that into the spinning plates that we keep moving forward with all the projects that we've got going, and get that organized in a fashion that we can share the 12 steps of interdependence.
Yeah, even just the outline of the notes you used, because I think I got 1 through 10. I forget where you ended on Thursday, but
right. And of course the archives there too. But yes, and by the way, on your website, I did listen to your presentation on stress, which was awesome. In 10 minutes, Tim did a presentation. Who was the group you were presenting to, Tim?
It's an engaging speakers networking group out of Schaumburg, Illinois, and I slowed it down and stretched it out a little. So on the website, it takes about 16 minutes. I did it at the group on Friday. They gave me 10 minutes, and I cut a few things out and got it in 9 minutes and 45 seconds.
Awesome.
But the one on the website, I think, takes 16 and a half minutes.
So we'll need to put a link on our website to it, but if you want to give us the website so that anybody that wants to tap in.
Well, Jeannie already has it on your website.
Oh, it's up there. Okay. So the link's on the site. Cool. With the link to Tim's site? Cool. Fabulous.
So thank you for
that. So
that.
if you want to listen to that, that'll give you a quick overview of the workshop, Getting the Stress You Need, and how important stress is. It's amazing how many people just play the game of stress is the problem. It's stress, it's a problem. It's actually stress is your absolute best friend if you know what it is and how to use it properly. But, it becomes a horrific enemy if you don't know what it's about, if you don't understand it. You can destroy yourself with it, for sure. Which, of course, is very much like relationships. If we go into a relationship where, of course, we have our bags of garbage, each of us, we call those love relationships, and most of the time the relationships based in matching bags of garbage. And by those who live in a codependent state, that so-called love relationship exacerbates their pain, blows every trauma in their lives out of proportion until they're so sure the problem is their partner that the relationship blows apart. And exactly the same relationship, when one integrates and uses the 12 steps of interdependence, the same relationship becomes absolute awesome blessing. It becomes a chance to build the brain cells for, if I'm in pain, my thinking is in error. If I have hostility or fear of any kind, then I'm playing out of my power person dynamic. And the energy of my power person dynamic is what's controlling me. And so as I become aware of that and build the brain cells for that, when I find myself going into some kind of behavior that is based in hostility or fear, I know that I'm playing out something from my power person. And it may be subtle and it may be gross. It may be just something as subtle as a look, and it may be something as gross as a beating. Doesn't matter. And when we watch somebody when they're under stress, we know that behavior that's done is the behavior that was done to them. And so it all becomes an opportunity to learn forgiveness. And that's what we're going to do, is to learn that process of forgiveness. Any questions or comments there, Gene? When we live in the codependent state, excuse me, Gene?
No, they disappeared. Whoever had their hand up is called back.
Michael? Are you there?
Hi, Michael. Are you there?
Well, Tim's here. I don't know about Michael.
I'm Tim.
Is that Lady Jane?
Yes.
Welcome.
Yeah, good to hear from you. Good to hear your voice.
How are things? How was your visit?
It was great. It was everything it should have been. Yeah. Now, I don't know how I got you and didn't get into the show. Do you have any idea?
Oh, you are in the show.
You're on the show.
Michael was just not in the show.
Oh.
You're on the show. I don't know what happened. I'm on a Bluetooth headset, and I guess it disconnected. So.
Okay. Well, hi.
Good morning, young lady. We haven't heard from you in a while.
No, I haven't. I just found out today. Now, you should talk about being slow. It's okay. But I was talking to Mary Jo, and she said, well, you can get that on the archive. I said, oh, really? You know, what you've been doing the last week. So I really didn't know that. So I was very interested in your 12 steps of interdependence, which you all were talking about. And to have that on the, would be nice to have that on the computer. Well,
you can go to the website and click on archives.
Yeah.
And then you can just click and download the MP3 and listen to it at your leisure.
Okay.
You can put it on an MP3 player. You can listen to it on your computer. You can put it on your most phones. If you've got a cell phone, you can put it on the cell phone and listen to it. So.
Oh, that's
yes,
wonderful. Yeah.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
We're getting better and better at delivering the tools of forgiveness to every mind, heart, and being on the planet, and that's our sole purpose.
What's your tithe? I hadn't heard from you.
I did. Thank you very much. That was a very nice envelope to receive from you.
I'm always glad that you get it, and and I collect. I'm beginning now to collect it so that it's more when you get it. I like that idea.
Well, we appreciate it. It certainly supports and assists us in keeping it moving forward everywhere around the planet.
By the way, I noticed on the website that you had. There's a picture there and an explanation from our friend Jerry about what he liked, about what your work. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the video. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, there's a picture. It's not on a video. It shows this picture. I don't know whether I didn't get a video. But anyway, I would like to be on there, saying all the things that I like about your work. Now, I don't know how we go about that. Of course, you can tell me, no, I don't want you on there, but I don't recommend it.
But I don't recommend it.
Okay. No.
Please, if you know somebody who has a video camera and you want to do a video clip.
Yeah, I do. Mindy has one. Our Mindy over at the church.
So you can do that.
I just talk, Okay. And then what? Then I send it to you?
Then you'd send it to us, and we'll post it on the website. And or if you want to write an email, we'll post that on the website as well. Yeah, because I always have, positive things to say. And the more, I thought, well, I ought to be on there saying it then. There you go. I agree. Okay. That would be awesome. Okay. And I didn't get in today till later because I had a salesman that stopped by. That often happens to me. This particular time of day, I get interrupted, but that's why I'm so glad to know that I could hear it on the archives. Yeah. Yes. Everybody else is okay? I haven't been in for a while. Everybody meaning, Terry and David and your wife and all that. Everybody is here. Everybody is well, and we're all just moving forward. That's good. We have a support group tomorrow night at the Unity Center here in Las Vegas with my support group, if there's anybody from Vegas here. And then on Thursday night, we'll be in Pahrump, Nevada, about an hour west of here, doing a support group at Healthcare Partners Medical Center. Oh. And then on Saturday and Sunday, we've tentatively got a 2-day intensive. If anybody's in this area and is interested in doing that, let us know. Where would that be? It's actually we've done 2 intensives since we've been here. They've been 2-day weekends at a place called Tacopa Hot Springs, Delight Resort. And so it's a hot springs resort out in the desert. Okay, great. And so we haven't confirmed it yet. We had a few people who had expressed an interest in it, so we set the dates up, and then it turned out those folks weren't able to participate. So whether it's going to happen or not, I don't know. But if there's anybody in the Vegas area that's interested in doing an intensive that wants to go to another level with this work, and of course, this summer at Heartland on July the 8th, we'll begin with a 9-day codependence to interdependence intensive and go through 65 days of intensive work. Will you be able to get clear this year? I know last time you didn't get a chance to unpack your suitcase and you were going right into it. Are you going to have more time this year? No, it's actually going to be kind of similar. Jeannie actually is going to be, we start on July the 8th, and Jeannie has a family reunion in Tennessee the July 4th weekend, and the weekend before that we're keynoting at a medical conference in South Florida in Miami. Oh, okay. So we're going to just kind of slide into home base there and get started with an intensive.
All right.
It's an exciting season. We've got some folks coming from England, a whole family with 2 young children, 8 and 6 years of age. And we have a young lady who's been on the show who's going to be coming over from Asia.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
wonderful.
An interesting gathering this summer.
Yes. I'm meeting Jean on Wednesday, and we're going to go over the schedule. And she has 2 people that she wants to bring, but she hasn't done anything about it. So I'm with her to see where she wants to come. And then, of course, if she comes, I come with her.
Awesome.
So I'll let you know on that one.
Cool. Well, is she talking about her grandchildren?
Yes.
Yeah. Then probably the thing to do, and I think you'd just love it with all the other work that you've done, the other intensives you've done, would be Laws of Living. It's powerful for the younger kids to do. We've done it several times.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell her that. That you said.
Very cool.
Okay. Well, it's wonderful talking with you all, and I'll be talking with you again.
We appreciate sharing the planet with you. If you get a chance, go and see I Am. It's really, you'll be delighted.
Okay, where is it at off theaters? It's not on the regular show.
Yeah, it's in the major theaters.
It is now?
Yeah, it just came out in the last few days.
Okay, well, good. I'll go see it.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, it's definitely worth seeing. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we love you. Bless
Love you too.
So the bottom line of our work is the transformation of relationship, the transformation from codependence to interdependence, from playing the game of blame, somebody else is responsible for what's going on inside of me, to moving into the space of I'm responsible for what's going on inside of me. And if I don't like it, then I better fix it. If I don't know how to fix it, then I need forgiveness. Because what forgiveness does is forgiveness uncovers the hidden parts of the mind, the parts of the mind that are not amenable to any form of critical thinking or new choices. And you know how that goes. If you've ever had a behavior that you've disliked about yourself and you said, and I'm never going to do that again, and then when the stress is up and the chips are down, there you are back doing that same old thing. Why? Because we've not known how to crack the code of the unconscious mind. And you crack the code of the unconscious mind. You collapse its projections through the act of forgiveness. Nothing to do with letting other people off the hook. If your physiology is capable of producing any form of pain, turmoil, hostility, fear, grief, loss, sadness, hatred, vengeance, jealousy, and you say, I want to be finished with those things, you don't get finished with them by saying, I want to be finished with those things. You get finished with them by taking action. And the action to take is the process of forgiveness, as it was taught in the Aramaic. When you do that, what happens is you disable your mind's ability to produce any of those forms of hostility or fear. And as you do that, everything in your world and everything in your life starts to change. And we're looking to support you in that change. And, of course, as we all do, we're all learning. We're all in this process together. We're all moving forward in the process of healing. And we define healing as the willingness to own and remove any form of hostility or fear that distorts your emotions, that comes from distorted thoughts, that produces distorted cellular chemistry that results in diseases. And as you become responsible for and remove those dis-ease energies, what happens is the cells go back to normal. We had a young lady who was referred by Dr. Andraki, who was on last Wednesday's show with me, and she was in excruciating back pain, had been all over doctor to doctor, and she came and did a 2-day intensive. She started doing worksheets. She shared with me last week that she actually did a backflip in the splits at a party with some friends. Her back pain totally gone. Her first workshop, she couldn't sit down for more than 2 minutes at a time. Her back pain was so excruciating. We have the ability to change everything that's going on in our cellular structure. And as we take responsibility for that and choose to do that, we get to the point where we get together and create the best year yet of our eternal lives. And that's what we're here to support you in. And we're down to the final 10 seconds. Please jump on our website, grab the worksheet, put the pen to the paper. Invite somebody. Support us. If you feel like there's something going on here that's worthwhile, support us by inviting somebody else to be in the show, or you could go to the site and make a donation too if you like. We hold the blessing for you, and we'll look forward to hearing from you tomorrow. Bye-bye.